Welcome to the EAC's training on creating a continuity of operations plan, a critical tool for ensuring the smooth operation of elections during emergencies. Please stay tuned. In this training, we'll focus on what a continuity of operations plan is, the key elements of an effective plan, and the basic steps required to create your own plan. A continuity of operations plan, or COOP, is a detailed plan that helps make sure that an election office can continue its critical operations, communicate effectively, and recover swiftly from disruptions. A COOP provides a roadmap for your response to any type of emergency, from natural disasters to power or technology outages. A COOP is essential to supporting the integrity of elections during unpredictable events. It ensures that voters can continue to exercise their rights and that election security is maintained. It also allows election office staff and supporting personnel to understand their roles and responsibilities in the event an emergency happens. That way, everyone knows how to proceed if a plan is activated. During this training, you'll learn the basics of creating your own COOP using the EAC's Continuity of Operations Plan template as a guide. The EAC COOP template can be easily customized for your office. It is both comprehensive and flexible, allowing you to be prepared no matter what challenges arise. You can find the template using the link provided with this video. Keep in mind that any thoughtful plan is better than having no plan at all. Remember the adage, failing to plan is planning to fail. If the plan you create doesn't follow the EAC's COOP template exactly, that's okay. The important thing is that you think through your office's essential functions, document plans to continue those functions during a disruption, and communicate those plans with government partners or other parties that might be asked to help. Developing an effective COOP starts with thinking through three things: the scope of your plan, the people you will involve in creating and implementing it, and the steps to put your plan into effect. First, identify the scope of your COOP, including the areas that are and are not going to be considered in your plan. Remember that the focus of your plan should be on the essential work your office does, not every function. Second, name your continuity team. These are the people who will play a role in developing your COOP and putting it into action during disruptions. Include the agency head responsible for overseeing the COOP development process, as well as the continuity coordinator who handles creating and implementing the plan. These roles might be played by the same person. Name other COOP team members based on the skill sets that are needed to fix problems and recover from disruptions. For example, you may need to involve other election staff or information technology, communications, public safety, and emergency management personnel. You may also need to involve people from other public agencies, contracted IT vendors, or other partners. Finally, list the steps necessary to put your plan into effect. Be sure to consider the timeline involved. An effective plan might take days, weeks, or even months to draft and implement, depending on the scope. You may need to gather information and resources to put your plan into effect. This might involve learning more about the facilities you rely on, including what backup systems are in place to keep them operational during an emergency. Gathering equipment like emergency radios, portable generators, and spare voting equipment. Collecting documents like manuals, standard operating procedures, and paper backups of electronic records. And identifying the point of contact for support agencies or departments, and developing lines of communication. After you've worked through the first broad steps to develop your COOP, it's time to focus on the details of your plan. This is the most important part of the process. Start by thinking through all of the work your office does and write down and prioritize the essential functions. For example, processing voter registrations, operating voting locations and equipment, and reporting unofficial election results. Keep in mind there are also essential functions your office performs that aren't directly focused on election administration, but still have a major impact on your operations. For example, processing employee payroll. Once you've listed all your office's essential functions, you can develop detailed plans to address incidents that might occur. There are a few questions to consider when making detailed plans. How will you know an incident occurred? What will trigger a response or activation of the plan? How will the recovery team be activated to work on the problem? And who will you communicate with during the incident? Let's explore these questions a bit further. How will you know an incident has occurred? You might find out about an incident from a security alarm, news report, or by seeing the event unfold. Once someone is aware of the incident, they should contact the agency head or agency continuity coordinator to activate the COOP. Consider the order of succession and delegation of authority for the personnel involved with incident response. The order of succession is the sequence used to transfer authority from one person to another in order to respond to the incident. For example, the power to implement your plan might start with the chief election official, but pass to a deputy if the chief election official is not available. The delegation of authority shows who is authorized to do certain things during an incident and who is authorized to step in to take their place. For example, the chief election official may be authorized to speak to the media first, followed by their deputy, while the authority to close a building might be provided to the facilities manager and then passed to an operations supervisor. What will trigger a response? It's time to activate your COOP when an incident threatens an essential function. Think about the triggers that might activate your COOP. For example, your plan might be triggered if electronic poll books in multiple voting locations are not working across your jurisdiction when polls open, but not if election workers are having difficulty with them at only one voting location. Triggering events may be power outages, technology failures, supply chain disruptions, or any other disruption. How will the recovery team be activated? After an incident has occurred, your continuity team should be activated. This team will put the COOP into action and begin working on recovery. Develop a call tree to contact the continuity team so team members are contacted quickly and in the proper order. Be sure to update the contact information regularly. Who will you communicate with during the incident? Effective incident response relies on solid communication among the continuity team, with external stakeholders, including other election officials, and often with the public. List the primary contacts for your COOP, including the agency head, agency continuity coordinator, and any alternates. Include partner organizations, for example, your local emergency management office, state election office, or other personnel in your jurisdiction, including IT or facilities. Next, decide who your key stakeholders are. Depending on the incident, this may be voters, the media, office staff, temporary workers, or political parties. Finally, list the vendors and utility providers you rely on for services. These may include voting system vendors, contracted IT support, ballot printing vendors, power companies, and the U.S. Postal Service. Now it's time to create specific recovery and continuity plans for each of the essential functions your office performs. These plans should detail how operations will continue during an incident and the steps to recover after an incident. Let's use a real-world scenario to demonstrate how to do this. Imagine you need to create a continuity of operations plan for election night reporting functions using the EAC COOP template. Start by documenting the essential function name and description. Next, enter the essential functions continuity team lead and alternate, along with their contact information. Provide the time period that this essential function will be occurring. In this scenario, the critical time period for election night reporting is during the 12 hours after the polls have closed. Next, document the recovery and continuity strategies for this essential function. List the name, address, and point of contact for alternate locations where the essential function can be performed. In this scenario, another building has been identified as an alternate location for processing election results. List the technology or communications tools needed to support the essential function. In this case, the county's official website, social media accounts, email account, and phone number are listed. List the important items needed to perform the essential function. In this case, Posting election results relies on a data spreadsheet used to update the county results website, a printed paper copy of the results, and the database from the election management system. Backup options for each of these are listed. List the personnel and minimum staffing requirements needed to support the essential function. Here, the county clerk, temporary election workers, county IT staff, and building staff are all needed for election reporting. List any equipment that supports the essential function. Keep in mind that some items, such as computers and printers, may be needed to support multiple essential functions. List the other functions that the essential function is dependent on. In this scenario, election reporting relies on the vote tabulation system. Now, the most important part. Detail the continuity procedures and steps to recover the essential function. Work through this carefully and list all of the actions that might need to be taken, as well as who is responsible for taking each action. Involve other election office staff and continuity team members so that nothing is overlooked. Finally, list the documents that support the essential function. This may include things like standard operating procedures created by your election office or manuals provided by vendors. After the COOP has been written, it is important to test and exercise your plan. Testing is also the most effective way to train staff on how to respond if an incident occurs, and helps create a culture of preparedness in your office. A tabletop exercise, or TTX, is one way of testing your COOP. During a TTX, your team can work through real-world scenarios to see if your plans are ready to be put into action. For sample TTX scenarios, you can use the EAC's election scenario test deck. Find the cards and instructions for conducting a mini TTX using the link provided with this video. Finally, come up with a schedule to review and update your plan. It's a good idea to review your COOP at least once a year. When you review your COOP, be sure to update contact information and incorporate feedback from any training exercises or incidents that have occurred. After updating your plan, be sure to document the date your COOP was last updated. Thank you for joining us for this training on developing an effective continuity of operations plan. We hope you have learned some helpful and simple ways to prepare for contingencies in your election office. As always, thank you for your work in elections, and thank you for watching.